Welcome to another midnight rambling here in the dumpster about things that I think you should think are important. But before we get started, I'd like you to ponder this question. As we are all products of our environment, right? Who were you before you were the product? Who were you when you were still amidst the equation, simply living life? There was no incident. There was no thing that happened that completely changed you psychologically, or series of things that slowly and very subconsciously changed you. And I mean for the bad. Because let's be honest, who of us are born into the world with fears of society, fears of what others think of us, fears of all these different things that are created by simply being among the world, being in our society that is focused on other people's perceptions of us and success and I don't know, the economy. Anyway, but what I'm getting at here is, who were you before your canon event? Like, for me, I was someone who was very inspired. I've always been someone who's been really creative and really into putting herself out there. And I think when that started, I think the most iconic example actually of this was back in first grade. I went to Sunday school, right? Real cutesy. And I read this, I was reading this book at the time, and I don't know, something about it, suddenly I had everyone, because of reading this book and being inspired by these characters, I'm like, oh, I can be that. This graphic novel inspires me, and this character inspires me, and I want to emulate her confidence and her attitude. And so I did. And suddenly everyone in my first grade class was addressing me as the queen of the world. Unironically. They all, my mom still tells this story because it cracks her up that, she just walked into the sanctuary one day and someone was like, hey, queen of the world, I don't know how I pulled that, but that's who I was before who I was this week. Because this week, I thought I was going to be a third wheel. And how far is that label from the label of the queen of the world? I don't know when I ripped off my own tiara, but I'm getting there. So this event, right? The reason I thought I was going to be a third wheel was because these two friends I have, and the thing we were going to was just, I don't know, it just kind of, I didn't think they were, setting me up to be a third wheel, but in the grand scheme of things, it did seem like a setup, because these two, they just click. They're just friends so easily, and, I don't mind being there, but it's why do you want me there if y'all can clearly entertain yourselves? But I love them to death, so of course I went. Actually, that's a lie. I probably wouldn't have gone if one of my friends hadn't absolutely begged. I was like, bro, just go. But she was like, no, 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 you gotta come. And honestly, that's the only reason I went. I would have stayed home and I would have not, projected about the situation as I do. A very, a very bad habit of mine. Projection is like, who do I think I am? Psychic? It does nothing. And still, I do it every time because I think I know better. It's stupid. It's stupid. Anyway. So I get to this event, and it turns out me and my closer girlfriend, out of the duo, we're making the other guy third wheel at that point. Basically, not really. We actually work really good as a trio. No one was really left out. The tricycle was balanced, if you know what I mean. But it was so funny because I hadn't mentioned third wheel the entire time, and then the other guy brings it up, as a joke, that he feels like the third wheel because me and my girlfriend are so close. And I was like, huh. I thought that's the moment I realized I thought this was gonna go completely the other direction. And I thought it was gonna go the other direction because I'd given myself that label. I'd made that my reality. And I was ready to receive that energy back. So ready to receive that energy back. And that's not what happened. The reason I think that's not what happened in that situation is because lately, and especially with this group of people, I find I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to be the smartest in the room. Because that was my canon event. My canon event was sitting in kindergarten and feeling my eyes swell with tears while everyone went out to recess, and I just had to stay inside to finish my math work, which was taking forever because I don't know what the heck 6 plus 4 is. That's actually such a vivid memory in my mind. I could not figure out 6 plus 4. It was gonna kill me. And that, it gave me such anxiety. This 6-year-old, such anxiety because I felt slower than everyone else. I didn't have the same privileges as everyone else because I couldn't get it like everyone else. And so it has always been subconsciously my belief that I am not smart enough, and so I need to act like I'm smarter than I am. But what does that do? What believing in that never got me anywhere. In fact, it held me back. I never took harder classes, like honors or AP. I never challenged myself. I never tested the limits like the queen of the world would have, because I'd already put myself in a box. I'd created my reality and I expected that energy back tenfold. I was over preparing and projecting for things that weren't actually the truth and weren't actually my full capabilities. I was severely underestimating myself. So in high school, when I actually started taking honors and AP courses, I found out how fun it was to challenge myself. And the world just opened up. But back to being the third wheel. The reason you're the third wheel is because you're using what you think you are, your projected reality, your whatever the canon event made you think you are, as the reason you won't be accepted. When really what makes you accepted is your presence alone. 'Cause Unless if I was going to like some sort of academic thing, then yeah, I would need my intelligence to prove myself. But I was gonna go hang out with some of my friends. Like, the pressure was off. I didn't need to come prepared with study materials and, I don't know, 8 hours of sleep, because trust, I didn't have that. But what I came with, that I've learned to come with in these situations, is simply my presence. That's all that's required. People don't remember you for your intelligence. They use you more often for your intelligence. They will never remember how smart you are, but they will remember your personality. They will remember you by how you carry yourself. They will remember you for just your aura, because it is worth so much more than you think it is. And that's exactly why you think you're going to be the third wheel. You need to carry yourself like someone. You need to be a unicycle. You need to be a unicycle. Stop pretending it's a tricycle situation. It's a bicycle situation, and that one has more tire pressure than the other, because that we're not driving anywhere. We're not biking anywhere. That's not what this is about. When you go into a social situation and you want to prove yourself by making up for what you're insecure about, you depreciate in value. You go out of style faster than a Shein trend on the way to Goodwill. Like, come on. You can't think that lowly of yourself. And then when you try to prove yourself, expect that everything's suddenly going to be different. Because what? You're suddenly more competent, you're suddenly more this and this and that. You're relying on a reality that you don't believe in. And that's going to break you when you receive the energy you're putting out. When I was at this hangout last night, I was goofy. I was all over the place. I I played into the fact that I'm really dumb sometimes, because who's stopping me? Who's stopping me? My friends will love me anyway. They will love me anyway. Being more competent doesn't suddenly make my life more convenient. It doesn't suddenly make everyone think I'm a better person. So why would I put so much energy into something so dumb when I am most valued when I am having the best time? And I did have the best time. I had the best time ever. even though I was really, really, really dreading it. So I just want to know, who were you when you were the queen of the world? Who were you when you didn't have anything to prove, because you were already living in a reality that gave you the energy you wanted, that wasn't affected by the stupid canon event, that wasn't affected by everyone else going to recess? You are worth, you yourself, just yourself, not your traumas, not your achievements, not your goals. You alone are worth so much. You're like an unused car, an untouched heirloom in a museum. And you should give the right to think about yourself that way, because you deserve that energy for you. Your energy starts with you. The way I was putting out the need to be competent, I received that negativity. You don't deserve to be filled with your own recycled negativity. So go out there. Go out there and just experience life through the lens of the queen of the world. And don't be all don't be all concerned if people aren't if people don't like the aristocratic policies you're putting in place, cuz this is your term as queen. You or I'm kind of describing like the president's role. I'm American. You can tell. But like anyway, go rule the country. Bye.